Okay, so my name's Ian Renshaw. I work at QUT in Brisbane. I've been there sort of 15 years now, but started off as a PE teacher in England. Played cricket all the way through, and I've coached cricket since I was about 18, 19. Worked with players of all ages, from little ones, obviously, right through to international teams as well, and international players. So my specialist area is skill acquisition, with some sports psychology in the background as well. But really, that was my passion. And given that my other passion is cricket, I did a PhD to put the two together. Which was great fun, and looked at spin bowling and run-ups and batting against machines. So a lot of what we do has got some scientific backing behind it and some evidence that supports it. And importantly in cricket, because wherever you go to coaches, if it's not in cricket, even if it's something similar, they go, "Oh, it's not cricket." Like that's the whole point, isn't it? Playing means playing. It doesn't mean sitting and watching. So we have to try and provide opportunities through the games that we design, through our practice, that people get as much involvement as they can, and therefore, increase the chances of becoming good. If you're good at something, you're more likely to stick at it. If you're not very good at it, you'll go away and do something else. So we want to maximize that whole idea within the philosophy that we're doing, we're following. I mean, another key thing is that through learning, we learn by exploring. Crucially, we need to give people the space to explore. And traditional coaching has gone too far into prescribing solutions to people. And I always draw the analogy: if you try to teach a 1-year-old baby how to walk, it'd be a nightmare. You can teach them how to put one foot in front of the other. So they learn by exploring, and they solve it in the end in their own way. In the end, it looks like walking, but the way that they start off is unique to them. And we have to follow that principle with guidance. I'm not saying let's just throw them out there and let them, die or survive or thrive or whatever. But we carefully design our activities so that they can explore and have the space to find solutions. That means there will be mistakes. That's just natural. But we need to allow them to learn from those mistakes. And at this stage, it's more about development. The task should be matched to the level of the player. So that requires some individuality around the coaching to set the difficulty of the challenge, both in terms of training tasks, but also in terms of the games that we put them in as well. In the end, we want them to love it, because they get a sense of achievement from playing the game, and this is the philosophy that's been adopted in the importance of making sure that skills have context all the time, or the way that skills developed has context. And a really important part of that is trying to make the training as real as possible. And what I mean by that is that the perceptual information, what people see that they use to guide their actions, is realistic as possible. So as an example, if you face a bowling machine, the information that they use, or the machine that fires the ball out, obviously doesn't have a bowler attached to it. So you're using different information to guide your movements, and that results in different movements. So people think you can go on a machine and improve your technique, but you'll just get a bowling machine technique. And that changes the timing of the movements, of the backswing, the footwork, etc., etc. So there's a really good example, I think, of where we try and link perception and action, which is fundamental to the approach that we've used in this program, but also emphasizes why we really need to play games, because you only learn to pick bowlers by facing bowlers, and games are all about solving problems. So we've got to be game creators as coaches, rather than somebody who's really focused on one small aspect of the game, which is technique. And even then, so technique has context, and it's about solving problems. So if we don't put them in those situations, they never learn to solve the problem. And then when they get into a game, they can't handle it. And we talk significantly in our approach about skill adaptability, the ability to adapt to the environment in front of you, rather than skill acquisition, which implies something in the head, like we put a memory in our head. And that's just not what we believe is about what skill is all about. Skill is learning to adapt to different environments. And cricket takes such a long time to get good at, because the environment is constantly changing. You'll know that, well, the coaches will know that from pitches that they have to play on from one ground to the next, or one country to the next, or the different type of balls that you use, or the different opponents you come up against, and the situations that you have to play in. It's all about adapting really quickly to those variability, those variations. And the only way we can speed that up is to try and create as many opportunities for young cricketers to experience that as they can, because the game is about failure a lot of the time, and you don't get too many goes. Like when you're batting, you make a mistake, that's it. You might only get 10 ball innings. Very difficult to learn in that situation. And of course, the other side of it is that when we play 11 aside very early, a lot of people don't get a go. So it's hard to get good if you don't get a go. The whole nature of that game and the early specialization means that you don't become a cricketer first, which is I strongly believe, and I know you strongly believe, that we produce a cricketer first, and then we decide, or they decide, and we decide what their specialism much later and down the line. And there's so many good examples from professional cricket of players who started out as bowlers who became world-class batters, or started out as batters who became wicket-keepers, and so on and so on. So we don't want to stop that. We want to encourage players to be as rounded as they possibly can. So all the design of the program has been based on those principles, of those pillars. And I think we've come up with a fantastic product and a tool for coaches to use that is going to actually capture the imagination of the children, hopefully capture the imagination of the coaches, and open them up to a different way of looking at cricket coaching. Our game's in trouble. Like we're losing players, we're losing children to cricket, and we've got to look at why, and then try and address that. And I think with this program, we're going to go a long way to helping capture the imagination of children, and hopefully hook them into cricket for life.